really talk to you and get your legal expertise on this local smoke shop just off of Sahara, right around the corner from here, actually, where you have this owner, Johnny Nguyen. He's in this store. He owns this smoke shop store. A couple teenagers go in there with masks over their face. An attempted robbery, I guess you could say, even though no weapon was found. And in the video, the short video where we saw exactly what happened, by the way, one of those individuals that was wearing the mask goes over the console, not lunging towards the owner, but lunging towards the cigarettes, grabbing cigarettes. He stabbed seven times. He's going to survive. And now the owner is probably getting some legal representation. I'm sure he's opened up a GoFundMe page. I've said from the beginning that as watched this video, I thought it was excessive. Is he a murderer? No. But I do believe that laws might have been broken by the owner of the store. I want to get your thoughts on this. The first time you saw the video, what was your reaction? And do you think there could be some legal ramifications for the owner of this smoke shop in Las Vegas?
The first time I saw the video, my reaction was the same. It seemed excessive. It seemed brutal. But then I was looking at it from, the self-defense perspective. What exactly is the law here in Nevada on self-defense? And
what is it? I don't know.
Well, back in 2015, I prosecuted a guy. His name was Keonis Davis, and he had just gotten his case reversed on appeal because of self-defense. Reversed on appeal, was let out of prison. He killed somebody less than a month later. I prosecuted him for that murder. It took years. We put him away. But when you go back to that Davis decision, there was a law in the books in the NRS under self-defense and when you can use deadly force. And it said, if someone's committing a felony against you, you're allowed to do it. Now, that means any felony. So here at a smoke shop, a felony, they're trying to rob you or steal stuff. That would be a felony. You could use deadly force. Well, we all thought that was wrong. The trial judge thought that was wrong. The prosecutors in the original Davis case thought that was wrong. But the Supreme Court said, well, the legislator, the way the statute's worded for self-defense here, it looks like you're allowed to do it. And so they reversed the case. Mm-hmm. Keonis Davis gets out. He kills somebody. Well, I haven't really had time to go back and look at that statute, but I did when this case came up because this is a very interesting case to me. And the legislature actually changed the statute after that Davis decision to say now you have to be in your habitation or your car, meaning your home or your car. And then you have to fear if it's a violent offense going to be committed on you or your property. So if you're in your house, you have greater self-defense rights. If you're in your car, you have greater self-defense rights. Now that Johnny Nguyen's in his store, he has the basic defense rights that we all know, which is you better be in fear of your life or great bodily harm for you to be able to take this step, both objectively and subjectively. Right.
But here's my issue with this, Thomas, and I want you to speak to this. We know they didn't have weapons on them. I understand the argument, which is, well, I'm not going to take that chance. I thought they would have had weapons on them because let's be fair about this. Most people that go in to rob a store, no matter what your intentions are, you're probably going to have a weapon on you. But let's be honest, they didn't. They never brandished a weapon. Johnny Nguyen, the owner of the store, said he never saw a weapon. He never made the mistake of thinking he saw a weapon. That's number one. Number two, and to me, this is the biggest, besides not having a weapon, to me, this is the biggest part in this case, which is this. At no point did either of these teenagers wearing the ski masks lunge toward the owner, brandish a weapon, or come towards the owner in a way that would make anybody believe, oh my God, in my opinion, that my life is in jeopardy. I understand you're going to be scared. They're wearing ski masks. I get all that. But nobody ever lunged towards the owner, Johnny Nguyen. Now, I understand going over the console is a scary thing. I also get that. But he jumps over the console, and the first thing he does is not even look at the owner of the store. He's just grabbing some of those e-cigarettes. And then that's the moment where Johnny Nguyen grabs the knife. He's the one who goes towards this teenager. He goes towards him. He's the aggressor in this situation when it comes to force or the attack. Stabs him a few times. This teenager, and I hate to use the term teenager because let's be honest, old enough to know right from wrong. He should have never been there. I don't feel bad for this guy who was stabbed 7 times. But then he turns around, his back towards him, clearly trying to get out of there, saying, I'm dead, while Johnny Nguyen is still stabbing him. At that point, why not release him with your other hand and let him get out of there? And Metro, and I know I'm bringing up a couple things here. I want you to comment on all these, but when you ask law enforcement, they tell you not to do what Johnny Nguyen did. Don't do that. Let them take what they want to take, comply. Do not, you're trying to de-escalate. Don't make things worse for yourself. And I'm going to tell you something. Johnny Nguyen is lucky to be alive, because if any of these individuals had a gun on them, he is dead. He didn't have a gun. He had a knife. Now, he's lucky they were not armed. So Metro will tell you, most law enforcement will tell you, just about all of them, comply, do what they ask you to do. If they want to take money out of the register, let them do whatever they want to. Just make sure you're not harmed. Do everything you possibly can so you're not physically harmed. These are items. This is money. You're insured. Johnny Nguyen is insured. What's the worst thing that would have happened there? They were unarmed. I'll tell you what the worst thing is that would have happened, besides what took place. He would have lost a couple $100 worth of merchandise. That's my argument, and that's why I believe Johnny Nguyen should be charged with a crime. Where am I wrong?
Okay, well, the amount of merchandise that's going to be taken has nothing to do with the legal analysis whatsoever. It doesn't matter. So what matters here is, and look, this would be a real interesting case to defend, because let's take away the legalities of it. Does it meet the test? Does it not meet the test? Look, this is a case as a prosecutor. You don't necessarily want to take this case to trial and put it in front of a jury, because you're getting a jury full of people who are out there working. Some of them are going to be business owners themselves. And what you're going to be trying to do as a prosecutor is make the same argument you just made, which is you must let the criminals run amok. You must allow them to come into your business and just take whatever they want. And guess what? The police are going to tell you the same thing. But you know this about the police. The police aren't going to be there to stop them. They're not going to be there the next time. And guess what? They're not even going to solve this crime. They're not going to do any of that. And anybody who's in the business community or even here who's had interactions with the police know that their resources are so strapped, there's not going to be any resolution of that crime. So their answer is just let crime happen. So that's a hard message on a jury when you're trying to convict beyond a reasonable doubt, and you need 12 jurors to all agree unanimously on it, because it's also the state's burden to prove that it was not self-defense. And if even one juror sits up there and goes, you know what, maybe he wasn't in fear of his life, because I'll tell you, in that video, the one thing that doesn't weigh well in favor of Johnny Nguyen is the fact that he is cool as a cucumber.
Very,
very calm. Even when they first came in the store, he's just having conversation. Don't steal. Don't take my coins. Don't do. So it almost looks like, well, was he waiting for one of them to jump over, right?
We also know that he was robbed a few weeks earlier. That's something else that might be important.
And it's very important. But it's also important to show that sometimes these shop owners are saying, you know what? It's one thing for a guy who took something and now he's running out of the store for me to shoot him in the back of the head as he's running. It's another thing when the guy comes right behind the counter. And this is as a defense attorney. I would love to defend a case like this because it's hairy for the prosecutor. You have to allow the guy come over the counter. And now, obviously, objectively, you're in fear of your life. The prosecutor needs to prove that Johnny Nguyen wasn't reasonably in fear of not even his life, just great bodily harm could happen. And you have multiple assailants, big guys. And I know what you're saying, Brian. You said, oh, stab him a couple times and let him go. Well, what if the other guy did have a gun? The door was propped open. There could have been another guy on watch outside the store. So if you don't incapacitate the first guy and turn him around the way Johnny Nguyen even held him and used him as a shield, there's all these arguments that you can make of what's going through his head when he's got multiple guys here. And all he is armed with a knife. You go hand to hand on one guy to use quote unquote reasonable force, they might overpower you. That's
there are a lot of what ifs here. And I get from a legal perspective why you're saying that. That makes complete sense to me. But let me ask you this question. When somebody says they were in fear for their life, that doesn't mean it's necessarily justifiable, because sometimes it might be unreasonable.
Well, that's why objectively, and I don't think there's any problem objectively saying that a person in his situation, take Johnny Nguyen out of the situation, any person sitting there is going to be in fear of great bodily harm right there. As soon as those two guys enter in with the face masks.
That's what I was going to
say. Now, let's say you're putting in Jason Statham, and he's sitting there and he's just calm and knows that these guys can't do anything to him. That's the subjective area to it. But I had a lecture from a guy, he was a security expert one time, and these lawyers were going, well, you have to be reasonable and also subjectively be scared, and also reasonably anyone would have been scared. And the guy goes, nah. It doesn't matter if you're actually subjectively real scared of guy. And all the attorneys go, what? No, that's what's required under the legal analysis. And the guy says, let me give you a situation. A dude is shooting a gun at me, multiple rounds, shooting a gun at me. And I'm sitting there going, they go, well, are you scared? I go, nah, I know this guy can't shoot. He can't shoot. He's not going to hit me. And I wait, and he shoots 20 rounds, and I finally pop my head up, and I give him a headshot. Yeah. It's going to be justifiable self-defense all the time. And that rang home to me where I went, the security expert has a point at a trial, but this is one where it would be a case a prosecutor wouldn't want to have to try. but a case where this case might just get submitted to a jury because this is the way the prosecutors look at it, the way DA Wolfson's going to look at it.
Do you think he's going to be charged?
Well, the fact that he hasn't been charged yet is kind of telling. So maybe that will never be charged. But once it is, if they do make the decision to go ahead and charge this, which I think they're going to, based on what I see on the video, this is a case where you say, Johnny Nguyen, we understand there's some self-defense arguments
He's
here.
lucky that he didn't die. Right? If
Johnny
he dies,
Nguyen?
no. I'm talking about one of the bank robbers. Now, obviously,
I think either
one of the. Did I say bank robber? One of the assailants.
I think either way. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
I mean,
so
it's battery, substantial bodily harm, attempt murder, whatever you want to charge.
So it's not going to be attempted murder. Though,
attempt murder with a deadly weapon.
You think so? You think
if you're going to charge it? And it's not about what you think you can get them on.
Yeah.
You're going to charge what you can charge, right?
Because what do you think they're going to charge him with?
You charge him with attempt
murder.
You're
the former prosecutor here in Clark County. I mean, you would have had this case, right?
And you're telling me I have to go on a case.
What would you do?
I don't necessarily want to go on because you have a bad victim, a victim who's robbing the store. Prosecutors never want to throw that in front of a jury, right?
Right.
And you're telling me you got marching orders, Tommy. You're trying this case. If he doesn't take a deal, you're trying this case. Well, I go, all right, well, let's charge him with all the charges that we can bring against him, right? Mm-hmm. Burglary, or let's charge him with the battery, substantial bodily harm, but let's throw that attempt murder with use. The last stab right to the back when he turned him around was almost like the kill stab that they would do in the old Gladiator movies.
Yes.
You know, Maximus.
This Johnny Nguyen looks like he's trained. He kind of knew what he was doing.
Oh, he definitely knew what he was doing, right? And so you're going to be taking those steps, but here's the game plan. You charge him with attempt murder with use of a deadly weapon. You charge them with battery of substantial bodily harm with the use of a deadly weapon. You go, all right, I understand there's some issues in the case. We don't want to go to trial. Johnny Nguyen, take a plea deal to a felony, and let's try and get some prison time on you. If he really pushes, you go, all right, how about a plea deal, and we'll agree to probation, right? You're doing a lot of things not to go to trial to still get him tagged with a crime and admission of something. Now, Johnny Nguyen and his defense team says, nope, we're going self-defense all the way. If you don't drop it down to something like a misdemeanor offense or something, or we're not taking anything but a dismissal, and now it goes to trial. Well, now the prosecutors can say, we're not going to deal this case to something so low that it's offensive. If you think it's self-defense, this is why we have the jury system. Let 12 members of the community decide whether this was justified or not. And if they say it is, Tommy, you walked out of that room. You did your best job as a prosecutor to prove that it was attempt murder, to prove that he was unjustified. You lost. The jury system worked. And if they convict him of murder or attempt murder, then okay, that's what the jurors said. They said they watched the video, they saw everything, they saw the evidence, and Johnny, you weren't justified in doing it.
But I have, and we'll get to this on the other side of the break, but I have issues with what Johnny Nguyen did, not just based on the law, but let's be honest here. He looked like he was a trained individual. He knew how to use the knife. I don't know what his background is, but now why is this dangerous? Why does this make this even worse for, just people that own businesses? Because now they're going to think, ooh, I could take matters into my own hands. Look at what Johnny Nguyen did. You know what? Some of these people that maybe own knives or guns, they're not trained, and they're going to make the situation even worse. You take out that weapon first before the perpetrators take out a weapon, people are going to die, and you can die. And that's another point of emphasis that I say is that they're going to be smoke shop owners, and they're not going to think that they can take matters into their own hands.
Let me tell you something. When I was a prosecutor for all those years, and we had a lot of cases where there were armed robberies of gas stations and things like that. Mm-hmm. And these armed robbers, they usually commit more than one. They've done like several stores. Metro has to track these guys for like 10 robberies before they finally arrest them, And you always say this as a prosecutor, man, we're not going as hard on these cases because the cashiers and store owners, they're assuming some risk by even being in that situation because it's so likely that you're going to be robbed. Now, that's a messed up way for a person to have to live their life at work.
It's true, though.
Right? And you tell them, don't take the weapon out.
It's true.
But people lose their lives during these robberies.
It's true.
Even the ones that don't pull out weapons.
No
they just
question.
Stand there.
Yep.
And
sometimes you can do everything right and put your hands up. And I agree with you 150%. All right.